Why, hello there, everyone. So, I decided I'd try to do a reading of a story I found on Wattpad that I found interesting. So, I've read the original book. Well, from what I've heard, there's more than one, but I've read the first book of this. And I saw how they decided to switch the roles about which school they went to. I guess I'll give a brief rundown of what this book is about. It's about two characters, Agatha and Sophie, who got taken to a school where everyone learns to do their part in a fairy tale. The Evers get their happily ever after, and the Nevers are usually the villains, henchmen, etc. in the story. So, in the original, Agatha went to the good school, despite her not looking like any of the other Ever girls, while Sophie, who looked like she belonged into the school with her blonde hair and slim body figure, she was put into the school for evil, and the story progresses from there and gets a bit more interesting when a prince is introduced into the story. Now, like I said, this is where the roles were switched. So I guess I'll start with the first chapter, where they belong. And let's get started. The creature hovered over the shiny castle and loosened its tight grip on Sophie. Sophie beamed with happiness. For her whole life, she had always hoped to go to the school for good, and now her wish had come true. She was destined to be a princess. "Aggie, I'm a princess," Sophie gasped as she started falling towards the school for good. Agatha screamed as she watched her friend fall with a big grin enchanted on her face. Without hesitation, the bird flew over to the castle next to the one Sophie had been dropped to. The castle was dark, gloomy, and stank of the dead. The castle showed no happiness, no heavenly land like the school for good, but instead portrayed gloomy school that was hellish and miserable. Now, a home for Agatha. Agatha screamed as the bird dropped her. "No, wait!" she cried, but it was too late. She went escalating towards the ground quickly. She shut her eye and awaited her expected cruel death. And that's the first part. The school for good. Birds chirped. The second part, sorry. The birds chirped and the sun beamed brightly, causing Sophie to stir awake in a gorgeous field of delicate flowers and fresh grass. But there was a more beautiful sight than the land sitting right in front of Sophie, the school for good. Sophie gazed at the silver crystal gleaming in the sunlight. She could almost hear the castle calling her, welcoming her to her new home. "I'm finally here, my sweet," she whispered to the castle. She stood and walked to the entrance, but paused as she remembered her best friend. "Goodbye, Agatha." She breathed open the door and walked in. A gorgeous glowing nymph dressed in a long pink dress floated to her immediately. The kind creature smiled at her and handed her a beautiful pink pen form made of lace and chiffon. I'm sorry for the mispronounced words so far. The dress was perfectly trimmed and gave Sophie a thrill. The nymph also handed her a ticket, a flower-grown pass, a basket filled with brand new books, and an elegant timetable. Sophie placed the basket on the ground and clutches her new uniform as she read the timetable for her class. Timetable for Sophie Woods Beyond Grade 1, School for Purity, Tower 51. Breakfast, Beautification, Professor Emma Animats, Princess Etiquettes, Polix, Animal Communication, Princess Uma, History of Heroines, Professor Agesta Sadar, Lunch, Good Deeds, Class, Professor Clarissa Dovey, Surviving Fairy Tales, Group Number 3, Yuba the Gnome, Dinner. Sighing with joy, Sophie quickly changed into her uniform on the spot, since only girls were about, picked up her basket and trunked and followed the nymph who led her to her room in the Purity Tower. It was a long trip, but was pleasant as Sophie gazed all around the palace she walked by. She stopped as the nymph stopped in front of a door. There was a sign that read, "Welcome, Sophie, Beatrix, Rena, and Millicent." Her heart raced as she read the name of her roommates. Would they like her? Or would they hate her? Would they dislike her? Her rather messy appearance? Would they understand that a trip she had just came from Galveston? She took a deep breath, opened the door, and quickly walked in, dragging her trunk with her, basket balanced on top of it. The room was grand. The roof was made of crystals and diamond, and the floor was a gold-colored carpet. The beautiful patterned walls were decorated with frames of pictures from fairy tales. There were 4 queen-sized, 4-posted beds, which all had golden compound. In front of the huge mirror was 3 beautiful girls, each cleaned up, slattering on makeup. But as soon as she entered, all of them turned to her immediately. Kind smile across their faces. Which is obviously fake if you've read the original. Who said that? You must be Sophie. You are so enchanting, cried the blonde. I'm Beatrix. I'm Rainy. And Beatrix is right. You are beautiful. Welcome to the School for Good, smiled the brunette. I just know we're going to be good friends. I'm Millicent, Grand, and the other brunette. It's so nice to meet you all, breathed Sophie, as all of them smiled warmly at each other, and each knew they had formed the group they had hoped for. Sorry for my dirty appearance. I had a long trip from Galveston, Sophie added, smiling apologetically. Oh, you're a reader, cried Beatrice excitedly, not knowing what she meant. Sophie nodded. You can wash up if you like, said Renee kindly. Yes, I would like that, answered Sophie with a confident beam. Thank you. With that, she wandered into a separate room, which she assumed was the bathroom. Beatrice and Renee and Millicent stared after her admiringly. She's so pretty, stated Millicent. How could anyone have those features? Beatrice agreed. She's going to be real popular, laughed Renee. I ought to be madly jealous, but I like her. She's very sweet, Millicent chirped. You barely even know her, but yeah, she's so nice. I loved her, said Renee. For a while, all they spoke about was Sophie. Not meanly, of course, but of course of how they would truly love her as a friend. But as they talked about her undying beauty, a voice rang through the doors. Welcome, new students. We will be having a welcoming ceremony in the theaters of Tales. Please get there in an hour. The Never students will be joining us there. A clear, bold voice said, and the room was silent. The bathroom door opened. Sophie walked out clean, Her golden hair was damp and her green eyes gleamed. Beatrice and Renee and Millicent gasped. Had she been this pretty before? No, she hasn't. Cleanliness sure did make her a good deal more prettier, though. As soon as each got over their shock, they explained to Sophie what the voice had just said. "But what's nevers?" inquired Sophie curiously. "Nevers are the students who are in the school for evil. Students who are in school for good are called evers, which means we're evers." "Oh, that makes sense. I'll see Agatha." "Who's Agatha?" "Oh, she was my friend from Galveston. She went to the school for evil." "Your friend went to the school of evil?" Rian gasped and immediately closed her mouth when Beatrice said, "That's good. It's nice to have friends in other schools," smiled Beatrice. "I'm sorry. You may not like that I have another friend." No, not at all. We don't mind," Millicent assured honestly. "Truly, because I'd hate to disappoint you." "Truly," said Renee, and it was true. No one minded that Sophie was friends with a never. "Thank you," Sophie thanked rather emotionally. Tears filled her eyes as she thought of her best friend who now couldn't see her much anymore. She remembered how Agatha was the one who helped her and comforted her when she was going through hard times. "Are you okay?" concerned Millicent asked. "Yes, it's just I'll miss her. She was my best friend. My father hated me. I was miserable and sad, but Agatha was the one who helped me get through this. She was like a sister." "She sounds like a very kind person." "She is. If she wasn't there, I couldn't have lived. You see, after my mother died, almost strength away, my father wanted to marry this woman called Honore. He can only marry her if he has my permission, and didn't give him permission because he didn't even mourn over my mother's death. He didn't even love her. He didn't care that I didn't eat or wasn't happy. All he cared was Horne and her sons. He didn't love me because I am not a boy." With that, Sophie burst into tears. Emotions finally exploded. Her deep sadness burst out. Beatrice went over to her and hugged her. "Your father doesn't sound like a very pleasant man." "Don't worry, Sophie. You're with us now. It will be okay. We'll always be by your side," Beatrice comforted. "Yeah, Sophie. We'll be like your family," said Millicent. "We will be your family," Renee comforted. Both Millicent and Renee joined the hug. "Attention, students. You are required at the Theater of Tales in 30 minutes, the same voice as before announced. "Should we start heading there?" Millicent suggested. "Yeah," answered Beatrice and Renee at the same time. Sophie sniffled and nodded. All of them stood up and left the room, arm in arm. I'm going to end my reading there. I hope you all enjoy, and if you want to hear more of the chapters, I will happily read them more. But if you want to read it yourself on Wattpad, here is the cover and the person who wrote it. So I'll leave this here for a second so you can all, if you have the app, look them up or look for the book yourself if you want to continue reading in your own time. But that's all for today, and hopefully I will read the next chapter very soon. I hope wherever you are, you have a fantastic morning or night or evening. Goodbye, my listeners, for now. And also, sorry for all the misreading with pronouncing words. I am sorry for that, and I will try to do better on the next one. Goodbye, everyone.